So you guys welcome. My name is Benson Juarez. I'm one of the owners of Privy. I've been a real estate investor for many, many years. I started in the real estate business back in 2001, believe it or not. So I've been doing this in one fashion or another for over 20 years. I've seen lots of different markets. I've seen ups and downs. I saw the really bad market in 2007, 8, and 9. I took a hit like a lot of other people did. I had to recreate myself, become an investor-friendly real estate agent as well as an investor. And, that's where Privy was really born, out of the problems that a lot of investors were having during that time. My business partner, Scott Fall, and I were in the same real estate office. And we would talk through these big, huge cubicles that we had, and try to come up with better ways of doing business. And so, a big part of why Privy is so powerful is because of the way that the data is used, the automation, and the direct to MLS data. I don't want to just glance over that because it's such a crucial piece of the value proposition of a platform that is providing data that you have to make really important financial decisions on. And if you don't have the best data that's available, or if there's holes in it, or if it's inaccurate, or if it's not timely, you're going to be making decisions based off of poor data. And this is a game, and it is a bit of a game where numbers matter. And if you're off even just a couple percentage in either direction, that's literally the difference between you making money or losing money, or getting into a deal you shouldn't be in, or potentially tossing up on a deal that could make you money. And that actually likely is what happens to a lot of people, is that they're just not confident in their numbers. And so what do we end up doing when we're not confident? Well, the first thing we probably do is we don't take action at all, because we're just so scared that we're going to make a mistake. We just don't do anything. Or if you do take action, it's delayed, and then you're put yourself behind the 8 ball. Or what you do is you submit offers that are so low that there's no, even if you got the deal under contract, there'd be no way you could lose any money. But it's so low that the chances of them accepting the contract are basically zero. And so you might as well have not even offered it in the first place, because you're just wasting your time, right? So with this strategy I'm going to show you tonight, it's called the reverse REI strategy, leveraging the Privy real estate investing software. I believe that you'll be a way better prepared, way better educated, more confident real estate investor who's going to enjoy what they do. There's a lot of stress in this business. There's a lot of things going on. And sometimes when we don't know what is what, or we're trying to figure things out, then we have all this kind of undue stress, and that changes our perception on what we have to do every day. And, you've heard people say that, if you really enjoy your work, you'll never work another day in your life. And that can apply to this business as well. And likely most of you aren't doing it full time, and probably you're just doing it as a side hustle. And, you're just looking for a way of bringing in some additional revenue, some income for you and your family, so you can do the things that you want to do, have choices, be in control of your own time, being in charge, in control of your future, your financial future. And that's why we started in this business in the first place, is because we're just looking for a better way, right? We're looking for a better path and a better future for ourselves and for our families. Real estate can solve that. And there is a ton of content out there. You can go into YouTube University and you can learn 1,000 different ways to wholesale. You can learn 100 different ways to flip, and you can learn, 10,000 other ways to do other different strategies. But none of it will work if you don't have the foundational elements of real estate under control. And that's the data. And it is going to be what I call local market education. There are tons of platforms out there that have strategies and philosophies and approaches and systems, but none of that can teach you what a deal is in your market. And this is where I think a lot of people, they kind of skip over. They get really focused on lead generation, and they don't really ever learn how to comp a deal out, or how to analyze a property, or how to decide if an opportunity is worth their time investment, their money, or their blood, sweat, and tears. And so that's what we're going to help you solve tonight. So one of the first things that we realized way back when is that we wanted to figure out a way to getting consistent, predictable, and I guess you would say consistent and predictable a deal flow that you can build a business on. Okay. The second thing is there's off-market marketing and then there's on-market marketing. And off-market requires a lot of money input. It requires a lot of extra time. And so if you're doing that kind of marketing, likely you're not getting the effectiveness that you want, the good return on investment that you're looking for. And so we figured out some ways to make that better just by leveraging the data I'm going to show you tonight. Or maybe you're in a position where you're writing a bunch of offers, but you just can't get that offer accepted. Someone's always beating you out, or you're getting leads from different directions and you're running comps and you're like, I don't know what the after repair value is. I don't know how to analyze this property. I don't know if it's a deal or if it's not a deal. And we can help you solve that too by leveraging the data. And if you're wholesaling, one of the most important things is finding a list of buyers that are taking action that you can go and find opportunities, get under contract, and then assign to get a fee. Or if you're a real estate agent and you're investor friend focused, where are the buyers at? How can you find additional buyers that you can put into your book of business so you can help them find opportunities as well? So those are some of the problems we solve high level. Now, this reverse RA strategy is based off of a tried and true business practice that people have been using for years in all other industries. And if you've ever read the book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, the second habit is begin with the end in mind. So it means slightly different things in many, many industries, but basically it means that you're thinking several steps ahead and you're thinking about where you want to end up, and then you reverse engineer that process. In the real estate industry, this is a comparable driven business, meaning we have to look at what other houses are selling for to try to determine what our opportunity is worth in its current condition and what it might be worth in its after repair value condition. And so if you're very strategic and intentional about where you look for deals, all the data that you need to be able to understand if it's a deal or not for yourself, help you figure out the after repair value so you know what offer to write, and then being able to prove to another individual, whether it's an appraiser who's doing a mortgage or doing an appraisal, or it's a buyer on a wholesale deal, you're going to have that data to be able to prove to them that that house is worth what you say it's worth. But if you don't, if you just look anywhere, then you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to have a house that just doesn't have what it needs to be able to prove the value to you so you can make an offer, a confident offer, or to anybody else for that matter. So you basically look for deals where deals are already being done. You go look where your comps are at already. You know they're there. That way, if you find an opportunity, you've already solved one of the problems. The data that you need to prove value is already there. Now you just need the lead. So by looking in the right place, you remove one of the biggest problems that's going to trip you up down the line if you're just thinking a few steps ahead. But this strategy, what's cool about it is you basically can leverage the experiences and the successes and failures of investors that have come before you. So you don't have to go down the exact same path. You don't have to step in the same holes that they did, or have the same delays or make the same mistakes. You can basically leverage what they've done. So what you can do is you can sidestep all of the uncertainty that was stopping other people. You can shorten your learning curve and you get to that aha moment way quicker than if you did it the old-fashioned way. One of the coolest parts about that process, you guys, is it allows you to do business in markets that aren't where you live, or what you would call virtual markets or remote markets. Now, before a platform like Privy, that would be unthinkable to many people, because you might be thinking, oh my God, I don't know anybody in Indianapolis. If you live in California, you live in California, you're like, man, there's low investor activity. Prices are ridiculously crazy. Taxes aren't great. All these things that are against you, like, how would you get comfortable doing deals in the Midwest in a market like Indianapolis? Well, the data is the key to that. Now, this will allow you to basically work from your own home and make money in your spare time on evenings and weekends, and you can leverage algorithms and automation. You don't have to spend your time driving around and going to properties, and it allows you to basically optimize your time and just be way more effective and way more have a way better outcome when you leverage this strategy. So just some of the benefits of using Privy. We've got leads from all different sources. So off-market leads, on-market leads. We got public record data, county and record data. So you can research who the owners are. You can find people that are in distress situations like foreclosures and absentee owners. We can help you provide additional deal flow by leveraging our algorithms. So the algorithms in that automation gives you your time back, so you can spend your time in this business on the things that matter most, like analyzing deals, comping properties, writing offers, going to closings. Like that's what you want to spend money on, not running comps on 100 properties to find out only 2 of those were deals. And so you just wasted 98% of your time. That's not a smart approach. So with this automation, it's doing the majority of the work for you. We're taking you all the way up to the 2-yard line. All you got to do is just power through that line and get yourself into the end zone. And that's what Privy allows you to do, is to really just leverage data analytics and the automation. It's almost like having a team of virtual assistants do all the heavy lifting for you, and then just handing you that ball at the goal line and saying, run in. That's what we do for you. All right. Now it's all based off of what other investors are already doing. And here's some of the other off-market sources that I talked about before. So if you wanted to find zombie properties or vacancies or absentee owners, all these kinds of opportunities are in Privy as well. All right, cool. One of the biggest things that people love about Privy is our before and after data. So we know we don't just have the most up-to-date, rich information at your fingertips. We also have historical data. So we can go back and we can piece together the transactions that have been done, so we can see what people are buying houses for, what they look like before the renovation, and then we can see what they sold them for and what kind of renovation they did. And then we can see what their margins are. What was the difference between what they bought it for and sold it for? And then what was that percentage? So that percentage of ARV is a key part of what I think is going to be able to help you, because that will help, is what helps you understand what a deal is. So let me jump into the presentation here, and we'll talk about some different ways that you can use Privy in your business. And one of the things I love to tell people about Privy is exit strategy agnostic. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, but it's just a way of saying that regardless of what your exit strategy is, if it's buy and hold, if it's short-term rentals, if it's creative deal structure, if it's if it's subject to, if you're buying notes, or if you're doing something more conventional like wholesale and fix and flip, we'll help you identify discounted deals that you can turn into whatever you want. When you have a discount, you have way more options on your back end than if you don't have a discount. And that's what Privy really excels at. That's what none of our other platforms, competitors that I know of, does, is finding these discounted properties that you can write offers on every single day, leveraging automation. That's what's part of the system. That's what's built into it. Now, earlier I mentioned you want to target the right areas to go and look for deals. Now, one of the things that Privy has that our other competitors don't is that we actually have direct to MLS data in over 90 markets. And we were just testing a bunch today. We were testing Albany, we were testing Greenville, South Carolina, we were testing West Penn, we were testing a bunch of different markets. So there's more and more coming. So over 90 more are coming. But where you see the blue and the red is where those direct to MLS areas are located. Where you see the yellow and the black is basically what our competitors have. It's third-party data. It's aggregated. It is the best that's available if you don't have direct to MLS, which we do. So this is one of the things that I think will help create some distance between you and your competition and give you that edge, is making sure that you have the most timely information that's available. And so great it is, because it's the same data that agents and appraisers use. So why wouldn't you use that data? Now, it's actually even better than that data, because it isn't the MLS access. Like, we're not getting access to an agent's MLS. It's the raw data. And why does that matter? Well, it matters because we take that raw data in and we curate it and we make it so it's actionable. We make it so that you can use it to make decisions on your business. The MLS by itself is just a deep, dark hole of information. It's intended for real estate agents to go and list properties so that other agents can see them, and they can push those listings out to places like Zillow and Redfin. So, homeowners who are, Joe and Sally homeowner are trying to find their first deal, right? Their first property. That's what that's intended for. It's not intended for comping properties out. It's not designed for looking for deals. It's not designed for tracking investment activity. And that's why Privy is such a powerful platform. And that's why so many real estate agents use it, is because it does things that their MLS can't do. And that's totally okay. We're not trying to be an MLS. We're trying to be the most powerful real estate investing platform in the world. And we're probably there. I would put our platform up against any other platform out there. So when you are looking for the areas to invest, there's three main check boxes that you want to consider. The very first thing is you want to be in a high investor activity area. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. The second thing is you want that area to have direct to MLS data if possible. Now, we're not in every single market, but the markets that we're in are in the areas that you want to go invest in anyway. Many of the markets that we're not in yet, like Billings, Montana, has low investor activity. So it's low on our priority list to go get direct to MLS data. Maybe we never do. But where we know there's high investor activity and where we know there is high population and where there's demand for deals is how we're prioritizing our MLS markets. So we're in the best areas so far, and we're going to keep adding in more and more of those markets. So over here, I'm on the left, and so I'm going to click the fix and flip button. That's going to plot on the map where all the fix and flips that have happened in the last 12 months are located. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to go and do fix and flips yourself, but here's the thing about real estate investing. The majority of the time, when we're trying to determine if a house is a deal or not, we say this house is a certain percentage of ARV, lower than what my highest percentage of ARV is. So let's say I need a house to be at 70% of the ARV. Well, 70% of the ARV means that I can buy it for, say, $140,000. And if I were to fix it up and sell it, the after repair value would be $200,000. So 140 is 70% of 200,000. That's how we measure how good deals are. The lower the percentage, the closer you get to zero, the better the deal. So the only way you can determine that $200,000 mark, that after repair value, is if you have renovated homes. You can't determine after repair value in an area like South Dakota where no one's flipping, because there is no after repair value. It can only be determined by a renovated house. So if you're strategic, and I would just say, if you have any sense about the business at all, it really is this fundamental. If you have any sense about the business at all, you're not going to go look for deals in South Dakota, because it's just a waste of time. There's no ingredients there to build a deal. So why go waste your hard-earned time and money in an area where the ingredients that you need to build a deal aren't there in the first place? It makes no sense, right? But here's what happens is people are looking in areas where there's basically nobody living. They're looking in rural areas, and they're looking in areas that have low investor activity. Most of the time it's because they just don't know the difference. They don't know the reverse REI strategy. They don't know about Privy. People that do know about Privy and have a good sense of the reverse REI strategy aren't wasting their time in Colby, Kansas. It's just not smart. Where should you be looking? Well, now we look at areas like, okay, well, here's North Point. Is that North Platte, Nebraska. Now, is that a good place to look? Well, not compared to Omaha, Nebraska. Not even compared to Lincoln, Nebraska, right? So you got to think about your opportunity cost. Every minute you spend looking for a deal in Lincoln, Nebraska is a minute you're not spending looking for a deal in, say, Kansas City, where there's a lot more of the stuff that you need to build a deal. You want all of this stuff. And so if you're smart with your time and your money, you won't be spending a lot of time looking for deals there. Now, again, then there's some other larger circles here. So you want to go to where you see large circles, higher numbers. So the Chicago market is way better than St. Louis. But guess what? I actually went to St. Louis and looked for deals. I was doing deals there virtually for many, many months. Now, did I make a mistake because there's almost 4,000 here? After you get over a certain amount, then you're going to say, okay, there's enough here for me to work with. Indianapolis has a good amount of activity. Nashville has a good amount. Oklahoma City. Markets like Atlanta has a good amount. Birmingham. Dallas-Fort Worth is a really good market. So once you find a market that has high investor activity, that's where you're going to want to target. Now, if you do, again, live in an area where there's not a lot going on, like, say, Plainview, Dallas, or Plainview, Texas, you're going to want to get real comfortable quickly about doing stuff in another market. And the only way to do that is through the data. There's no coach, mentor, book, podcast, any other source of education that can tell you what a deal is in Dallas. Now, one other way you can learn what a deal is in Dallas is by going down there and doing deals. But this is what they used to do 20 years ago. They went and they learned by making mistakes. You don't have to do that anymore. You can learn by just looking at the data from the other people that did it. And you can leverage their experience and incorporate it into your strategy and learn from it. So right here in this Dallas area, I'm zooming in here. These clusters are breaking up from those big clusters to smaller clusters. And now I'm looking at specific properties. So now I can see specifically which neighborhoods are active. Now, the neighborhood approach is really important in the real estate business, because when we talk about comparables, when I'm trying to determine what a house is worth in its as-is condition and what it's going to be worth after it's been fixed up, I need to think about the comping criteria. So when you're trying to use comparables to determine that, you have to be probably within a half a mile. In some rural areas, you can go a little further away. In some urban areas, it's probably even closer than a half a mile. So if I'm in Oak Cliff and I were to draw a radius here, I wouldn't be able to see some of these houses up here in this. So you really want to be in the heart of where these deals are being done. You want to be as close and in the middle of these as you can. Now, inevitably, somebody in the audience is going to say, well, isn't that where all the competition is? Yes, it is. But without competition, you don't have comps. Competition is what creates comps. So if you're in an area in Hays, Kansas, where nobody's at, well, go for it. You're going to have no competition, because guess what? There's a reason why there's nobody looking there, because there's no deals. And without deals and without competition, there's no comps. And without comps, you don't have the data for you to be able to prove value on your house to yourself, so you know what offer to write. And then if you don't know what offer to write, and you just submit some offer and then you get under contract, and now you have to go to prove to some appraiser or some buyer that house is worth what you say it's worth, and the data's not there, you just wasted all your time and money. So don't do that. Okay, write that down. If you're taking notes, say don't look in low investor activity areas. All right. So now we can start to do some research. What is a deal in Dallas? Now, one of the things I think is important about this market we're looking at here is that Dallas and I think about 10 other states are what's called non-disclosure states. Non-disclosure states are states where the counties in those areas, and that comes down from somebody, maybe in their state legislature, says they're not going to publish sales data on home sales. And I think mostly it comes from like a privacy situation. People just don't want their information out there. We've done a little bit of research on it, and we found that it isn't a law, and there's no illegality about it. It's preference between those municipalities. Now, do your own local research, but we've looked, and they basically said, oh yeah, we could do it, we just choose not to. Now, one of the things that solves that is, now, if you're going to go and you're going to try to comp a property out first, let me just say this, in Dallas, and you didn't have direct to MLS, you wouldn't see the actual prices, like this house right here. In some areas, they show a range. Like that might say this house sold between 200 and 300,000, which essentially makes it useless for you, right? And most of them don't even do that. They just put like a line there. So if you were to look up this same house in a platform like Redfin or Zillow or one of our competitors, you're not going to have a price. But because we have the direct to MLS data here, we do have that price. Okay. Now, we don't show this to the public. It isn't out there just floating around anywhere. You can only see it within the Privy platforms. You have to log in, and you have to go in and where this information is privately located. So this is one of the ways that you can get access to that information as well in Texas and those 10 or so other states. But let's go ahead and click this property on Neuhoff. So Neuhoff, it's this property right here. Looks like this one sold 8/14/23. So 3 days ago, it actually sold. All right. One of the benefits of using direct to MLS is you get really rich photos. In many of the other platforms that you're going to find out there, you won't have these. And it's really hard to figure out like what's what. Is the house you're looking at, was it fixed up? Is it completely unrenovated? Is this representative of the price of a renovated home or an unrenovated home? Photos is a big indicator, and there's some red flags that will help you decide that this is a renovated house, because there's not a flag. There's no tag flag in the MLS public record anywhere. It tells you that a house is flipped. We infer that it is because down here in this comparative market analysis, we can look here to say that they bought it back in March of this year and they sold it in just this month. So over this 5-month period, it went from 147,000 to 254. That kind of increase in price does not happen through normal or natural appreciation, right? Where the neighborhood values are going up. Typically, you're going to see in a 3 to 5, maybe 6 or 7% in a good market appreciation rate. This went up considerably, a lot. They got this thing at 58% of the ARV. 147 is 58% of the ARV. So I was able to learn that about that market just by simply looking at the data that we have here in Privy. So we can see here that a deal to this particular investor was at 58%. And if I look at the assessor's data, we can see here that this property was purchased by SPI SOL LLC. So this is the flipper on this property. Now, that's important for many different parties out there. If you're a wholesaler, you want to build a buyer's list of active fix and flippers who are doing deals. They have a demand for deal flow. If you're a wholesaler, you can find those opportunities in Privy. You can comp them out, make sure the numbers work, and you can get them to SPI SOL LLC at a price that makes sense. We have a sense of what they are looking for because we're looking at a house they just closed. We already kind of understand what their buying criteria is. That, again, is the information you can't get anywhere else. You're not going to be able to understand the buy box of SPI SOL LLC by just going out and looking around the internet, okay? We can also get an understanding of timelines, like how long did it take them to renovate this house? Well, 105 days, 46 days of market. So the total time from when they bought the house to when they put the check in the bank was 151 days. Great information, more information to help you really understand what's going on in the market. Now, one house isn't going to teach you the entirety of what the market is like in the Dallas market. So what you do is you come through and you research, say, the last 10 to 15, maybe 20 properties of homes that were renovated, and you look at that information. This one here was sold for $348. Now, one of the other elements of this comparative market analysis is that we bring in the MLS details. So you got property remarks. If you're an agent, we'll show you the private remarks that are only available to licensed people. If you're licensed, we can also show you contact information for the agents. The system also is an amazing comping engine. So deciding the value of a house based off of looking at comparable sales in the area is one of the most, I would say, undervalued skills in the real estate business. It really is something that if you can master that, will help you just excel and really propel you forward in your business, because it's one of the most important things is like running comparables. It is more of an art than it is a science. However, the philosophy of comping, kind of the standard comping practices that you see agents and appraisers do, are universal. Now, there's subtleties in different markets, but what we've done is we've baked that whole entire philosophy into the algorithm that we have inside of Privy. So you don't have to be a comping expert. And even if you were, you wouldn't want to spend your time comping. I'm in the business for over 20 years. I'm licensed. I know what the heck I'm doing. I've been around the block a bit. You want to know how long it takes me to comp a property out properly? Over an hour. And that's just one house. I can only imagine what people here in the audience are going through to try to decide what a house is worth. It's very complicated. And if you don't know how to do it, if you're not confident in the process or the numbers, you're going to hesitate. You're going to delay. You're going to write lowball offers. Remember, I mentioned that before, or you won't do anything at all. So these are all the comparables. So this is all the algorithm is doing this for you, but we do show you everything that's in this market right here. So we've got right around 20 houses that are sales comparables. If I click this all activity button, what that does is it shows everything else that's in that zone, even though it's not a comp. So this went from 34, so close to 40 properties. So about 20 properties were hidden because they weren't similar enough. Think about if you accidentally used one of those properties that we hid as a comp and it threw your numbers off. That happens every single day to people. So don't leave that up to up to the risk of you making a mistake. Let the algorithm do that heavy lifting for you. One of the other newest things, and I'll get more into the filter here in a second, is rental data. So if you are looking to build a portfolio of cash flowing properties, the analyzation process of determining if a house is cash flowing could be a little cumbersome. People have big spreadsheets, and it's difficult to find the data to be able to run those analyses after. And it's also difficult to figure out, what is the best measuring stick to determine if a house makes sense. We've built that all into the system within the last 30 days, but it's all based off of this rental data here. So I can pull up one of these rental comps, they're the purple ones, and this shows me the house. Almost all of this data comes from a partner that works with property management companies. We have over 130 million data points that will help you really to understand what the market rents are in a particular area. And that's, again, I said that's good for that if you're building a portfolio of rental properties, but it's also good for real estate agents who are trying to find rental properties for their clients. It is good for wholesalers who are trying to find wholesale deals for your landlord buyers, the buyers that are out there that need to find good cash flowing properties that don't have the time or money or will to find them on their own, right? They need wholesalers to find those. So we give you that data so you can analyze these properties regardless of what your strategy is. And we'll get more into that in a moment. This property here was purchased at 67% of the ARV. So 58%, 67%. The other interesting thing, you guys, and this is part of that local market education, is that everybody thinks that all these amazing deals that people are buying are coming from when they're directly to the seller, not buying from the MLS. Well, in the last two properties that we looked at, both of them were purchased directly from the seller, no MLS listing, and they both were at 58 and 67% of the ARV. Those are okay deals. They're not smoking deals. So somebody was spending money finding those properties. So let's look at another one here. And I bet you there's a property that was flipped that came from the MLS. This one was direct as well. That one was at 40%. That was a better deal than the last two. This property was purchased direct from seller as well. So the last four, so this is an interesting thing. This is a thing you might want to incorporate into your education about the houses you're finding in particular areas. Are a lot of people buying from the MLS, or a lot of people buying direct from seller? This was 60% of the ARV. So they're not finding amazing deals directly from the seller. They're not finding, and this one was at 58%, but this one was bought from the MLS. So about half of the properties that we found were higher than this one, about half of them were lower, but you can find deals on the MLS as well. So that's important to know. Now, one of the things that I think is extremely valuable, especially when you're starting to do stuff in a remote market, is finding boots on the ground. And that was that third checkbox. If you remember earlier when I first started, you want to find a high investor activity area. You want an area that has direct to MLS data. The third area is you want boots on the ground. Now, those boots can be your boots, right? That's where it's okay, that's why people look in their own backyard. But if you live in a low investor activity area, or you live in an area that doesn't have direct to MLS, well, having boots on the ground isn't all that helpful, is it? But if you can have those two things in place and you have boots on the ground, or you can find somebody there that can help you, like an investor-friendly agent, like this Charles Mozzie person of Mozzie Realty, then that makes everything much, much easier. So the best way to find investor-friendly agents is not by going around and just talking to people at the RIA or searching on Bigger Pockets or on the internet. It's by looking at the agents that represent investors. Who are the agents that are representing fix and flippers? Who are the agents that are representing people who are buying rental properties? Those are the people you want to work with. Privy helps you find them. We also show you agents that are, we know for a fact are investor friendly because they use Privy. So right here at the top is a Privy agent in this Texas market. If I click the drop down here, there's a bunch of agents that are working in the Texas market. You got Catherine and David and Daryl. These are all agents that use Privy. They understand how to work with investors, and they've raised their hand and said, I'm looking for clients. Share my information with them. So if I want to talk to Pamela, I can come right in here and click her thing, and it'll show her phone number, her email address. It potentially has links to her socials. we make it really super easy to find the partners in your area that you can work with so that everyone's winning, right? You want to find an investor-friendly agent. Cool. So we've done our marketing. We've done our market research. If we are going to do marketing to look for off-market deals, this is where we're going to look. Now, if I wanted to build a buyer's list of these people, I can actually export this right here by clicking the download button. It's going to export that into a CSV file, and I can take that and I can skip trace it, or I can work off of a spreadsheet if I want. But now I've got that information into a CSV file. If I wanted to go and find off-market leads, well, I would want to make sure I'm looking in this area. So I could use the drawing tool here and I could isolate this. And like I say, this is my target area. This is where I'm going to drive for dollars. This is where I'm going to knock on doors. This is where I'm going to pull lists. Because if I do find a potential deal, whether it's on or off market, the stuff that I need to be able to prove value and make the deal work is already present, right? Again, I'm thinking several steps down the line. So if I wanted to pull a list of foreclosures, for example, I could come down here and I can click foreclosures, or I can click zombie properties, or I can pull absentee owners. I'm not randomly pulling lists from just random areas. I'm being very intentional again about where I'm looking for those deals. So don't spend money on expensive lists. Let's say you're using another platform and just pulling them from where you live. Make sure you're targeting these high investor activity areas. And by the way, if you decide you want to use Privy, or if you're already a Privy user, we give you up to 10,000 downloads per month by downloading this. You can go there and you can just download this right into a CSV file, and then you can go and you can do your marketing from there. Okay. Now there's the off market, which is going to require some sales skill. It's going to require a good CRM, good follow-up, a lot of persistence. It takes anywhere from 7 to 12 months to start marketing to somebody before you're going to get that property under contract. 7 to 12 months. Now, the normal runway for somebody who starts in this business is anywhere from 5 to 6 months. So you can see there that doesn't correlate. So you want to find a strategy that you can do where you're not spending a bunch of money while you're doing your education, and there's some low-hanging fruit. And in my opinion, the low-hanging fruit for real estate deals is on-market deals. Now, if you guys are in the sphere and you're in these communities, everyone's looking for motivated sellers. Hey, where do you find motivated sellers? Well, they're out there and they're pulling lists of, vacancies. Well, if that house is vacant, maybe they're in a distressed situation. Are they motivated? Who knows? But you know who's motivated? People who put their house on the MLS. So all I got to do right here is click this button that says find similar active deals. And this is one of the coolest parts about Privy. We've got a proprietary algorithm that's patent pending that is actually analyzing all the properties in a particular area, and it's going out and it's only finding the properties that match your specific deal criteria. So you don't have to go in and analyze that 100 properties to find the 2 that are deals today. We get rid of the 98 properties that aren't deals, and we help you focus in on the 2 that are, and then see if those make sense. And with a simple click of a button, this system is running comps on all the houses in that area, and it's only looking for properties that look like potential deals. Now, in that particular button, the percentage of ARV for a deal is set to 75%. Now, that might work in the West Coast, that might work in some certain cities, but after we've done a little bit of research in the Dallas market, we need to be probably lower than 60%, right? That's what I learned by looking at this market for the 10-15 minutes we were doing it. Maybe it's a little bit less, maybe it's a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lower that to 60%, and maybe I was also qualified for a certain kind of loan. So maybe I went and I got a loan for a loan approval for say 350. Or maybe I'm a wholesaler and I talk to one of my buyers and they say, I want to buy houses lower than 360,000. And I want to be lower than 60%. And maybe they tell you the bedrooms and bathrooms. And so you can essentially build your buy box or the buying criteria of your buyers in the Privy system, and you can have unlimited searches, and they're all automated. So while you're at work or while you're spending time with the family or you're doing all of your other responsibilities, the platform is working for you behind the scenes, and it will send you a property that matches your criteria up to every hour. All I got to do is got to click save search, choose this little bell. I can choose up to every hour, and it will email me those. All I have to do is save it. So the saved searches is what triggers your email alerts to show up in your inbox when a property is found. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll run this, but where a house is up to 360 at 60% of the ARV, it's going to eliminate some, right? So here's a bunch of houses that our system found. So this house right here is 119,000. This one's 224. This one's 200,000, 210. There's a bunch of opportunities here. So this house right here that's for sale for 210, little ranch, 3.2, 1,300 square feet. We look at the photos here, and we can obviously see this house needs some love. It's not horrible. You know, we have to refinish that deck in the back. You know, they've got some wall patching to do. You know, the flooring's all going to have to be completely redone. We come down into the comparable section here and we look at the comparables. Well, let's start to see, like, why was this house flagged as a deal? Well, the very first thing that I notice is that we have these blue ones. These blue houses here are the ones that make this house a deal. The algorithm is ran and it looked at all the comps that were available, because remember, the algorithm gets rid of all the houses that aren't similar. We get rid of the house, all the houses that are way too big, way too small, too far away, wrong property type, wrong property style. Now we're only looking at the comps. Then we look at the price of the comps and we say, okay, if we get a house at 200,000, what percentage of ARV does that property need to be at for it to make sense for us? Well, we told it 60%, right? So 60% of the ARV, if a house is purchased at 200,000, is very easily calculated. Now, you don't have to do this calculation for you, but I just want to illustrate what the system's doing for you. So 210,000 divided by 0.6 means we have to have comps that are over 350,000 for this house to make sense for us to look at. So that's happened behind the scenes. So any houses that were for sale in this area, where say they were for sale for 210,000, if all the comps were lower than 350, we didn't even show those to you. We just hit them. This house does have comps over 350, and we've got 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, 3 of these comps are active, so I wouldn't want to lean on those solely to determine if this house is a deal. I want to find the solds. This one right here actually sold. But check this out. This house didn't just sell, it was flipped. So it was purchased for 296, sold for 356. So if I look at that property right here, I can see what kind of condition it's in, what kind of renovation did they do. This property is 356,000. So our house, if it was fixed up in a similar fashion to this house, would likely be around 356,000. They're similar square feet. They're both 3.2s. They're built, 4 years apart. This is a good comp. So our house at 210,000 is at 59% of the ARV at asking price. That's without even going in and offering some lowball offer. And I mentioned earlier, remember that most of the times people who don't know their numbers are submitting lowball offers and wasting their time. Now, lowball offers really don't work on on-market properties. But if you are in an area that has high investor activity and you can find the unrenovated house that's next to the renovated house, then these margins appear out of thin air. We've got a potential between 210 and 356,000 gross margin of 146 grand. Now you subtract out the costs out of that and the construction fees and such, and that would be what the net profit would be. But this here matches our deal criteria. And I didn't have to do a single cold call. I didn't have to skip trace. I didn't have to knock on anybody's door. I didn't have to sit at the kitchen table of some person who was in foreclosure and have an uncomfortable conversation about them losing their house. I've done that before. It's not fun. You do not want to go and sit there and talk to somebody who's in this distressed situation, who is probably on edge, who's embarrassed, who doesn't want to be talking to you, who really just wants to stick their head in the sand. That is a very uncomfortable situation, and it's not for everyone. Being a salesperson is a very, very selective skill. There's a reason why salespeople are the most highly paid individuals of any companies, because they make all the money. It's not easy to do. Think about your skill set. Are you a salesperson? Do you have the ability to build rapport, build trust, and close quickly? If you don't, well, maybe you could learn, but how much time do you have? What I would suggest is, in the meantime, find properties just like this one on Waverly that you can get for 200,000. Come down to the comparables, and we got 2 houses that were sold, and it's between 55 and 60% of the ARV. Again, this house matches our deal criteria. I didn't have to do any marketing for it. So there's tons of other properties here, and I could switch the city really simply. I could just type in Indianapolis and it'll do the exact same search, exact same analysis in the Indianapolis market, or Chicago or Tampa, or wherever you want to find these high investor activity areas. It will go and it'll find really amazing deals, just like this one on Keystone that you can get for 94 grand. This is probably already a turnkey rental without even doing anything to it. But from a discount perspective, if I look at the comps, we got a house here that was just flipped. It's a comp that they bought for 76, sold for 165 grand. We can buy this one for 95. If I was going to go and say do like a wholesale deal on this, and you can wholesale on market deals the same way you can as off market, you just have to have a way of transferring it. I'd probably offer about 80 grand on this thing. And if I can get under contract, I would give it to the buyer for 85 grand. And then I can make $5,000 or $10,000 with very little work at all. And I've done that several times using this exact same strategy. Okay, now there's a lot more things that Privy does. One of the coolest things that Privy does, I told you earlier, is the long-term rentals. So remember those purple comps that I showed you earlier? That's the data that we use to run this long-term analysis. So the main ways that people measure how good a rental property is by either looking at cap rates, cash on cash return, annualized return, or gross yield. Cap rates is probably the most popular. And so if I wanted to find a property that's in this market, that's say at a 9% cap rate that I can get for less than $360,000, and it is on market, it's going to go in and it's going to run all that analysis behind the scenes. You don't have to have a financial calculator, one of those Texas Instrument calculators. Remember those from school? You don't need to do that anymore. The system's doing that all behind the scenes with all of the assumptions. We just click run search. Privy's going in, it's analyzing all these houses, and now it's going to find a house that we can write an offer on that meets our criteria. So this house right here is for sale for $225,000. The comps, the rental comp ranges is pretty wide. It goes from basically $1,000 to $3,000. But if I come down here to the comparable section here, we got 3 rental comps, 1.6 here. We're probably going to be in this 1.6 range. This is a 3.2. So I can open up that property on Lexington and I can see the comp and it's be like, that looks just like my house. If I fix up the house I'm looking at, I can get to the 1,649 mark. If I don't fix it up, I'm going to be likely closer to this house on Shelby, which is not in great shape. This one is 3,000. I don't know what the situation is on that. It might have an ADU or something like that, but I would hide that one. It's kind of an outlier. So this house is going to be right in that 6 to 7% cap rate area with simply, very little work at all. Let's find another house. This house has a little bit tighter range. It's between 800 and 1,100 on the rent on this house. Come down to the comparables on this one. This one has 7 rental comps. And here they are. They range from 850 up to $1,100. They're all 2.1s. This one I feel really confident at. It's between an 8 and 12% cap rate. Powerful, powerful stuff. So again, if you're looking to build a rental portfolio, you can do the same analysis in any market in the US. And actually too, with the rental data, that doesn't matter whether you're in a direct to MLS area or not. You could go and find rental properties like this in even the third-party areas. And you're going to have these really good photos of the rental comps, and then we do all the analysis for you. So let's go ahead and start to wrap this up right here. And I'm going to get you guys out of here. But for those of you that are Privy users, I'm going to go and kind of give people a chance to get signed up. So thank you guys for coming here. The next Privy training is going to be Tuesday afternoon. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then there also is going to be another one on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So those are regular trainings that we do every week. For those of you that aren't Privy users yet, well, let's get you signed up. All right. So I just did a really quick demo for you on Privy. Privy is the most powerful real estate investing platform out there. We give you all the information to do your local market education, to really understand what a deal is, get you access to the best MLS data for comping, to be able to understand investor activity, what's working for investors on the ground, and then leveraging our deal finding algorithms to find deeply discounted deals at deep percentages of ARV and or find properties that you can turn into rental properties for yourself or for your clients and also for your buyers. So really powerful, all wrapped into one system